friends. Today we are traveling through Florida and we're gonna make a music stop today. I want to do a vlog on a great influential musician that grew up in Greenville, Florida. Daze with Jordan the Lion. It begins now. Well, we have arrived. Now, the man that we are talking about today was actually born in Georgia, which is very fitting because even though he was raised in Florida, I think when you say the word Georgia, you almost think of him because he sang Georgia on My Mind, probably the most popular rendition of it, Mr. Ray Charles. So today we're going to where his boyhood home was, and unfortunately, you know, he was not born blind, but at the age of 5, his sight started to go, and so it would be at this home that he would learn how to cope with losing his sight. And I think this is just gonna be a fantastic journey. Apparently this town is kind of set back in time. It really is trapped in that moment, and I'm excited to see what we get to see today. This is a special Patreon sunglass vlog for Kimberly Wilson. Kimberly, I hope you're a Ray Charles fan. Now let's head into Greenville and see what they have to show us. And I believe in honor of Ray, whose real name was Ray Charles Robinson, I believe they've changed the street that his house was on to Ray Charles Boulevard. Well, actually it looks like it's called Ray Charles Avenue. I think it's just up here past the railroad tracks, actually. Well, here it is. This is where Ray Charles' boyhood home once stood. Now, they did have to recreate it, but they did use the original flooring, and I believe inside, even though they have it closed right now, because they're doing some renovations on the inside, they do have a piano on the inside that Ray used to play. It says, this house is a reconstruction of the home where musician Ray Charles Robinson, born 1930, died 2004, lived with his mother, Aretha Williams, adopted grandmother, Margaret Ma Robinson, shortly after his birth in 1930 until about the age of 5. R.C., as Ray was known by his friends, received his first piano instruction from Wiley Pittman, owner of the nearby Red Wing Cafe. Ray and his mother later moved into a small house behind the cafe. At age 7, Ray's sight failed and he was sent to Florida School for the Deaf and Blind in St. Augustine. The modest wood frame vernacular house he grew up in was probably constructed in the 1920s. It had no electricity or indoor plumbing. Meals were prepared on a wood-burning stove. A hand-primed pump supplied water from a well next to the house. A fireplace in one of the 4 small rooms provided warmth, and open windows and doors allowed breezes to cool the house. Because of advanced deterioration, the abandoned house was scheduled for demolition. In 2006, the town of Greenville purchased the structure to preserve the memory of Ray Charles with a grant from the Florida Bureau of Historic Preservation. So I had read, there it says he lost his sight at 7, but I had read it started to go at 5 because what I found out online was that I believe while they were living here when he was 5, he had a younger brother, and his brother ended up drowning in the laundry bucket, or like in a laundry bin, and that was what apparently Aretha would do for a living. Ray's father was out building railroad tracks and was rarely home, and so Aretha would take in laundry to earn extra money. And apparently Ray was in the house when his brother passed away, and his sight started to go very shortly after that. And then from what I understand, it continued to go and was completely gone by the age of 7. Now, Aretha was Ray's love. I mean, he just adored her to no end because she taught him a very valuable lesson in life. When his sight was going, she made him do the laundry, she made him do chores, she made him chop wood, and the reason was because she said, I won't always be here to take care of you, and there won't always be someone there to take care of you. You have to learn to rely on yourself. And so it was heartbreaking when he did go off to St. Augustine for him, because he was separated from his mother. And even the first Christmas, I believe, when he was there, they couldn't afford the train fare to bring him home, so he had to stay up there alone. But he loved music, and that's what he studied while he was there. Like the sign said, when they moved, right next to them was the general store that Wiley Pittman owned, and they had a cafe there that had live music, and Wiley would teach Ray how to slowly play the piano, and that just became the driving force in Ray's life, was his love of music. And then unfortunately, when he was a teenager, his mother just unexpectedly passed away, and at the age of 15, his father unexpectedly passed away. So as a teenager, Ray just started going out and performing and joining groups and forming his own groups and playing as many places as they could, dance halls, eventually hitting the Chitlin circuit. But he wasn't having a whole lot of success, and by the age of 17, he decided to take off from Florida, try his hand in Seattle, and that's where he met a 15-year-old kid that would become Ray's closest friend, and Ray would even say, "I look at him like a brother." They would have a long bond throughout the rest of their life, and it would be Quincy Jones. Ray Charles would take Quincy under his wing, teach him about music, and the rest is history. I was hoping that they would have at least windows you can see into, but I definitely understand why. You can't trust people, and you never know who will break in or break out a window or something, especially with a valuable piano in there that Ray once played. But not a waste, because not only do we get to see the recreation and where Ray would have grown up for those first 5 years, but hopefully some of the people in town that knew Ray are going to come on here and talk. Hopefully we're supposed to meet up with them later today. Now Ray was interesting because Ray, when he first started playing, everybody liked him, and he had a unique voice and everything, but what they would always say is, "Oh, you sound like so-and-so." Basically, whoever he idolized, he sounded like them, and it took him a while to break out of that and develop his own sound. And how he would end up doing that was he married the sound of R&B with gospel. Yeah, he took his love of R&B, put gospel changes in there, slowed everything down, and that became the foundation of soul music. Ray is credited with creating soul music. And if you listen to any musicians that ever played with Ray, they would always say it's like playing with Ray, time almost stops because he plays so slow. Like, you have to watch his head and his feet for the movements and for cues, because, you know, Ray likes to put a soulful rendition into everything he does. And what's great about Ray too is if you listen to his songs, very rarely does he do a song the same way twice. If it's like, you know, he can change it up in many ways, because his style early on was very jazz based and then R&B based, adding the gospel in there. But then he changed things up, because once he was really getting successful, he changed record labels and decided that he wanted to start making country and western music. And he would have even mix into that big band, jazz, blues, and created his own style. I mean, it's pretty amazing. This guy is known for What I Say, I Had a Girl, Georgia on My Mind, You Don't Know Me. Pretty amazing career. We'll have to come back another day when they have this open, because they do give tours here and they tell a lot of history of Ray here in town. And I believe one of his friends from childhood, when he lived here, gives the tour. Now, just 2 doors down from Ray's house is a Baptist church, and that really got me thinking, you know, that was really what we have to give a lot of the credit to Ray's love of music. Not only Wiley Pittman teaching him on piano, but Ray's family was religious, and they went to all the revivals that their church would have, and Sundays were all day music, and Ray said he just looked forward to that so much. He said he couldn't get enough. He loved going to church on Sunday so that he could hear the music and rejoice with the people and dance and everything. And it's kind of strange, because later on in life he would almost become the opposite type person. A lot of the times he would just want to be left alone, not want to talk, or just not want to interact with anyone. He just loved music and would continue that throughout his life, where he would tour some 10 months a year, and then when he wasn't out touring, he was in his studio in Beverly Hills. He had created an office building that was a record label management company. It had his recording studio in it. It was an all-purpose place, and now it's a by appointment only, or at least it was last time I checked, museum, but they wouldn't let you film anything or show anything inside. So his legacy lives on there. But and it's kind of amazing to see the house that he started out in, and to know that he would end up in Beverly Hills. It really kind of reminds you that dreams really can come true, and it doesn't matter where you start in life. You, with persistence and talent and drive, can get anywhere you want in life. Wonder if that's Ray's old limo. There's the Greenville water tower. Well, today we have a special guest. Lucille, would you like to introduce yourself to my audience?
Well, hello, my name is Lucille Daze. I live in Greenville, Florida. This is home for me. I have lived here really most of my life, except for college and a stint in Massachusetts. Enjoy living in Greenville, where the living is easy.
Now, when I called City Hall, I wanted to ask some questions about Ray Charles' life, and they gave me your number, and they said, this is who you got to talk to. She can tell you about what we're doing here in Greenville with Ray's memory and some of the times living here.
Well, I can. I knew Ray. He was older than, of course, than me. Ray's mentor, Wiley Pittman, and my granddaddy, Green Howen, were tight buddies. So his mentor taught him to enjoy music and love the piano. And Ray Charles was just a regular guy like all the other guys. He'd come by and visit. Other people would stop by and visit. He never used a cane or a seeing eye dog.
Did you know him before he lost his sight?
We all knew about him. Everybody knew everybody.
Was he the, I hate to ask this, but like, was he the only one in town? Was it kind of just because it's such a small town, did they know him because of that? He had lost his sight?
No, everybody knows everybody.
Oh, okay.
That's Greenville. A fellow passed by riding his bicycle, and he said, "Hello, Lucille Daze." And I hadn't seen him before. He's a friend of mine's son. She said, my son's moved there. I saw at Kiwanis the other day. Anyway, we all knew Miss Retha, Miss Mary Jane, Ray Charles. We all knew one another. Ray Charles was born in Albany, Georgia. I was born in Quincy, Florida. Reason being, the black mothers-to-be at that time had to go where they could find a good midwife to take care of them.
Oh.
They could travel in 2 weeks. So my mom came home in 2 weeks' time, and Ray Charles' mom, Miss Rita, came home in 2 weeks' time. I was born in Quincy, but Greenville is my home. And Ray Charles was born in Albany, but Greenville is his home. He knew the streets. He could go to visit everybody. He knew whose house was where. And when he left and went to school at St. Augustine, he said he could count the cross ties on the railroad track and walk home.
No kidding.
I thought that was a neat way. And of course, he found his way around Jacksonville and other places, and he did very well. A friend of mine just passed away. He sang too, and he used to drive Ray Charles around. They did an article about him after his death and mentioned Ray Charles. So I've saved that article so that I can share it with other people of the Heritage Committee. We are the Heritage Committee now.
Amazing.
We started out as the Ray Charles Committee, but we're the Heritage Committee, and we have been searching in the cemetery, the Paul Bearer Cemetery, for Ray Charles's mother. She's said to be buried there. We have not found her burial site yet, but we won't give up. We've looked twice.
Is it unmarked, or is it just?
Probably unmarked. Some of the grave sites are marked and some are not. The grave has been cleaned, but we would like to find some way to really clean it up and identify who's out there. I've been out there. We had a couple of historians, one a former student of mine, come to look for it, and we've had some people to come and just look at the Ray Charles house when we could take them in. Sorry, I can't take you in, but I can tell you about it. And
Yeah, there's a
Lester Pritchett, if I call her, probably she can tell you something.
That'd be great.
She was a neighbor of Ray Charles. Ray had a sense of humor, of course, you know. She remembers them sitting outside in chairs, probably during the summer, chatting. I think her mom sent her in the house for something, and when she came back, just as she was getting ready to sit down, guess who snatched the chair from under her? Ray Charles! And the Matthews sisters used to live in an area not too far from here that we call the still quarters, because they did turpentine there from the trees. And there was a kind of a community well there, and the girls said Ray would hold them over the well and tell them he was going to drop them in. But he had a sense of humor and liked to play. Just a regular guy.
I almost wonder if he was flirting with them, because you know he loved the ladies.
Don't we know?
Now, he used to come back here and visit later on in life.
He would come back and visit, and he really enjoyed visiting Johnny Williams. Johnny sang too. Johnny Williams, a neighbor further down on the corner, they sang. Johnny has passed away since. His son is there. His son sings too. He has another son, Geronimo, California. He sings very well too. But Ray Charles was just we call him RC. I remember my freshman year in college, the girls in the dormitory were screaming and carrying on. Ray Charles is downstairs, Ray, you know, yelling down the hall in the dorm, you know, and it was RC. So he's come back several times for concerts, and since he lost his sight, he still remembers voices. He remembers Alessa's voice very well. So when we would go to a concert and they weren't letting anybody do this and that, if she said, I'm a Lester May, you know, and I'm his neighbor, you heard her voice, oh, come on, you know, that kind of thing.
That's great. So he never forgot where he came from.
Oh, no. Just a regular guy, just regular folks. You never knew that he was the famous Ray Charles. He was just a down-home regular guy.
When he was a little kid, did you ever foresee that he would pursue music as his life passion?
Well, really, we don't know. There are a lot of people here who were very talented in Greenville, a little town, but we had, I think, teachers with, I say visionaries. They were visionaries because way back there when I was in school, can you imagine, we didn't have running water, and the teachers taught us the proper way to take a shower. They taught us how to eat a 14-course meal. Things, you know, that they were hoping would happen to us.
Right.
And it did.
Yeah.
The main thing, it did. But we had a lot of talent. And a lot of talent has come from Greenville. Talent in many, many different areas. You know. So I'm really proud of what Greenville has produced. Before the pandemic, we used to have a school reunion. We would call it a mass school reunion, because if you ever went to Greenville Training School, you were welcome back. And we had a weekend of fun, one of the best reunions ever in the world, I do believe. We would start off Friday night with a reception, and I was on the reception committee. First job I got fired from. I was the first one there, and we would hug and talk, and I wouldn't do my job. I'd be hugging.
Socializing.
So they said, Miss Dave, why don't you just, I said, okay, fine. But I do help. I help to serve the old people, and that tickles some that I'm seeing about the old people taking dinners to them at the table if they didn't want to get up and get their meal, that kind of thing. But Greenville is a fun place. We are coming back to life. We were kind of sleepy for a while, and I think our eyelids are opening up just a little bit. We have a new senior/teen building, not open yet, but it's going to be ready when everything gets on inside. And we've had the ground breaking, and we are going to have a grocery store in Greenville again.
Excellent.
We used to have department
You've been
stores.
growing it. You were just walking me around your garden. You've been basically growing everything yourself.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun to watch things grow. We've always had a garden, and I didn't understand way then why my folks would have their garden one place and mine would be way over somewhere else. They didn't want me chopping down their stuff. I realized that now. But it took a while before I could realize all that. But living in Greenville is fun. I belong to, I won't tell you everything I belong to. Too many things. I'm involved in things that help people.
That's wonderful. And the house being available as a tour probably brings a lot of people to the area that maybe would never have come here otherwise.
And we welcome them. We want you to see Greenville, enjoy Greenville, and come back.
Now, when they take the tour, when people come and visit and take the tour, what might they see inside the house, or what might they get to experience?
If you walk in the front door, to the left, on the left wall, you will see an old piano with yellow stained keys. The white keys are now yellow stained. It's an old one because it's one that he actually played on. He was in Madison, Florida at some little dive, and they wanted him to play, and they had no piano. But Mrs. Keys down the street had a piano. So the guys, hefty guys, went, picked up the piano, brought it back. Ray played, they sang, and they had a good time. And when they finished, they took the piano back to Mrs. Keys. Her family later donated that piano, and we have it in the Ray Charles house in the first room. If you go to the bedrooms, you'll see old-fashioned things that were typical of bedrooms back then.
How he would have lived.
How he would have lived. And you see, and I always point out the chamber pot to people, because I don't know if they know what a chamber pot is. You know what a chamber pot is?
Yeah, well, it's bedpan, isn't it?
Kind of, but you don't use it in the bed. You got to get out the
Yeah.
bed.
Indoor bathroom.
Yeah. Because if you went outside, we had outdoor toilets. And if you were to go on the property, you might see a picture of the outdoor toilet, and you might see a pump. Now, in my yard here is a pump from the time we moved here, and we moved at this place in 1939. And they put a pump in. You poured water in the pump, and then it would prime and the water would come out. So interesting life before electricity and before running water.
It's amazing. Does his family help support the house or museum in any way? Maybe donating anything?
Well,
or
his family comes. They have come once. Surprise! A surprise visit from his daughters a few years ago. Not really. We are doing the very best that we can. We do accept donations when people come in, but we don't have a specific means of raising money to keep it going. We do volunteer, and we take the little funds we have and do the renovations. But it'd be wonderful if we could have some deep pockets make a donation.
Absolutely, and I know that the family, I mean, or at least the estate has to have enough they could do it. But it says a lot about your town. I think that without the help, you guys are doing it on your own. You're making it.
Where there's the will, there's a way.
I think you are representing what the Ray Charles, I think what you were telling us, his nature, I think you represent that nature as well.
Oh, I have a fun time home. Greenville is a fun place. Anywhere I went in Greenville as a child, I felt safe. And if an adult was there, I knew I had to behave. I'd get it from them, and then when I got home, I'd be in trouble. So I just tried to stay out of trouble. And Greenville was protective of its citizens and its children. And we got along very well together. I went back to work when I came back to Florida. And I left Massachusetts, and we were integrating the schools, and there was a lot of fuss, as everybody knows, about it. And the funny thing, here in Madison County, in Greenville and in Madison and the outlying areas, we were having school. And where I left Boston. I lived in the suburb, Burlington. they were having riots and they were fussing. They just couldn't get along. But we got along all the time. So we've had some rough times, but we got along. People saw about each other.
Now Lucille's going to take us to a couple of spots around town that are tied into Ray's history that we've mentioned.
Okay. This is the area where the Red Wings Cafe, owned by Wiley Pittman, was. Wiley Pittman's wife's name was Georgia. So when I hear Ray Charles sing Georgia, I think about Georgia Pittman. She was always pleasant. I've never seen her with a frown on her face.
Wow.
And we all love Miss Georgia, including Ray. Now the building here, it's a leftover building from Wiley Pittman. It just has not fallen down.
Oh, really? So this was Wiley Pittman's building right over here.
And this is the old part of the old building that just has not deteriorated.
Wow, that's great to see something still left. Yeah. You said it was a boarding house? He had a boarding house as well?
A boarding house, but I'm not sure that's it.
Wow.
But in the Red Wings Cafe, you had a jukebox. We could play it and go in, and a lot of room for dancing. It was fun.
How old do you think he was? Probably when he started learning, 5?
Oh gosh, whenever it had to be, because Mr. Pittman and my granddaddy were buddies longer than that. Mr. Pittman was from Alabama, and I don't remember when there was a time I didn't know him when he wasn't here, so he must have been here way, before I was born. So
Ray would have learned to play music roughly right around here.
Right around here.
That's crazy.
This has been, of course, changed. Ray Charles, did you know that part of US 90 has been changed to the part in the city is now named for Ray Charles?
That's amazing. I saw the Ray Charles
railroad track that he would walk on, and he could count and know when he got home.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me that. He could count, he could count the
cross ties.
That's crazy. So right over here at Half-Eye Hayes Park, town of Greenville, they have a statue of Ray in his childhood hometown, right out here off to the side of the water. There you can see him sitting over there. It says Ray Charles R.C. Robinson, the musical genius known to the world as Ray Charles, was a native son of Greenville, known to his childhood playmates simply as R.C. Shortly before his birth, Ray's mother, Retha Robinson, went to Albany, Georgia to stay with relatives. About 1 month later, Retha brought her son Ray back home to Greenville. Ray grew up poor, learned to play the piano from the owner of the Red Wing Cafe. At age 7, Ray's sight failed and he was sent to the School for the Deaf and Blind St. Augustine, where he continued his education and learned Braille. During holidays and summers, Ray returned to Greenville to visit his family and friends. Ray was 15 when his mother died and he was on his way, on his own. He began to travel and exhibit his musical talents. The rest, as they say, is history. Over the years, Ray returned to his hometown from time to time, referring to it affectionately as Greensville. The roots of Ray Charles' musical genius started in Greenville, developing into a talent embraced by the world. He pioneered soul music and is considered one of the most outstanding musical talents of the century. His influence is felt in gospel, rhythm and blues, jazz, rock and roll, and country music. The singer, pianist, bandleader was 74 when he died on June 10, 2004. The life-size bronze likeness of Ray at the keyboard was created by Cooley and stands as a permanent memorial to the legendary musician from Greenville, or Greensville as he called it. Perfectionist till the end. He was known for that. Said the guy just the music had to be perfect. You made a mistake, he let you know. He called you out on it. Also, fought his demons. For about a decade and a half, he was addicted to heroin. Was able to kick that habit, and got Guess one of his other habits was he loved women. They say he, the Raylettes were his backup singers, and they said he liked to hook up with the Raylettes a lot. Had multiple kids by multiple different women. He really enjoyed his life. And there's some great stories if you look up Willie Nelson, when Willie and Ray used to do music together or tour. Willie tells stories about how they loved to play chess together, and Ray absolutely hates to lose in chess. That's great. Really great statue. Alright my friends, I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. It was a lot of fun for me. It was a lot of fun to get to meet Lucille and hear her stories and have her take us around town a little bit. And gave me a reason to come back so we can get inside the house. We'll meet Ray's neighbor and hear some more stories about Ray. Thank you Kimberly Wilson for being a Patreon today. I hope you enjoyed your special Patreon sunglass vlog. I'll get these in the mail to you soon. Thank you all for watching. Go listen to some Ray Charles. Have a great night and goodbye.